I served in the army from the late 90s through the height of the Iraq War. I saw the world at its worst and, very occasionally, its best. Stateside training is one thing, but nothing really prepares you for deployment into a hot zone. My unit touched down southwest of Baghdad in May 2003, and from day one it was chaos. Not the Hollywood kind with constant explosions, but the creeping kind. One moment you're sipping warm water, and the next, a round skips off a wall 2 feet away from your head, and you contemplate how close you were to dying. By July, we weren't green anymore. Iraq in the summer is a furnace. The heat cuts through your gear, and the sand finds its way into everything, including your soul. But we adapted, learned how to read the streets, how to move without painting ourselves as targets. The IEDs and ambushes kept coming, of course, but we found a rhythm. You joke, you smoke, you stay alert. Brotherhood becomes oxygen. Our outpost was outside Al-Dora, east of Baghdad, fortified with sandbags and concrete dividers. The old half-destroyed school building served as our command center. No power, no AC, and comms only when patched in. Nights were pitch black, more than dark, they were void. You stare into that kind of nothing long enough, and your brain starts to fill in the gaps. It can drive you crazy. At the time, we were feeling good. Intel said insurgents were on the run, so we took a breather. Vehicle maintenance, gear checks, a quiet day. The kind of day where someone's cooking god-awful noodles over a stove and old country music crackles over the radio, just another hot afternoon. That night, around 2100, everything changed. We received word from a guard on the north wall. They were reporting something strange. A bright light in the eastern sky. Not a flare, not a drone. Steady, unmoving. Then another report came in from the southern post this time. Same thing. We weren't on duty, just sitting around swapping jokes, half caffeinated. Someone laughed about aliens. Someone else shrugged it off as a friendly aircraft. The platoon sergeant told us to knock it off and take a look. 4 of us climbed into a 5-ton truck and peered over the sandbags. We stopped laughing immediately. The light wasn't flickering like fire or steady like a star. It pulsed. It was slow and deliberate like a heartbeat. It was huge, too big, too bright. It looked like a city on fire just beyond the horizon, but there was no sound, no heat, and no movement. Just that glow bleeding through the black sky. Garcia was the first to speak out of all of us. "It's not lightning. That's way too low. Look at it." He was right. It wasn't in the sky. It was above the earth, hanging there. No source, no beam. It looked like it had seeped up from the ground and was just hovering there. Every instinct screamed wrong. These were hardened men, guys who kicked in doors and ran convoy security through ambushes, and they just stood there, silently. I checked in with one of our comms guys. Radios were dead. No traffic. Even SOG was not responding. That never happened. We always had one live net. The silence felt deliberate, like the light had pulled all of the sound out of the world. We kept watching. The glow pulsed, daring us to keep our eyes on it. And then, slowly, it began to fade. Not blinking out, just dissolving like dying embers. Within seconds it was gone. We waited 10 more minutes. Nothing. No aftershock, no aircraft, no intel chatter, just blackness. Sergeant Medina made his rounds, hitting every post. I heard him say the same thing over and over. You didn't see anything. You didn't hear anything. Keep your mouth shut. Nobody argued. Not out of fear of him, but because we all felt it. Whatever that was, it wasn't supposed to be real. Speaking it aloud might bring it back. We all lay in our racks that night, pretending to sleep. Nobody talked. No jerky, no dumb stories. Just silence and open eyes. The next morning, everything looked normal. Pale sky, brutal heat. Back to routine. Gear checks, water fills, vehicle inspections. I tried to joke around, lighten the mood. Nobody bit. Heads were down. Nothing came in on the wire. No official reports, no news chatter, no whispers from intel. Either it hadn't been registered, or someone did not want it known. Later that morning, Medina called us together. He walked slow, like the words tasted bad. Then he said, "What you saw last night does not leave this camp. It was a weather anomaly. That's the official line. Speak of it again, and it will be your last report." We all nodded, again, not because we were afraid, but because we understood. A pact formed. How do you explain a light with no source? A silence that made your skin crawl? A feeling like something saw you and chose to let you live? I mean, people would just call us crazy. They call it PTSD. I served 2 more years, saw more death, more senseless blood, but nothing ever made me feel like that night did. Small, exposed, like the universe briefly pulled back the curtain. I never told anyone, not until now, and it's because of this board. Because I keep seeing so many things on here, of people seeing similar lights, seeing things they can't explain. I don't know what it is. I just hope I don't ever see it again. Be me, 26 years old, doing odd jobs in rural Oregon. Cheap rent, no neighbors. Nearest town is 12 miles out and barely functioning. Landlord says, don't go near the creek after dusk. Laugh it off. Assume it's a local meth head warning. One night, power goes out. Full moon. Grab flashlight. Decide to check the breaker outside. Hear humming coming from the woods. Not mechanical. Like a dozen people singing the same off-key note. Follow it, because I have the curiosity of a white guy in a horror movie. Reach the creek. See figures kneeling in the water. Hooded, motionless, chanting the same note. Creek is only about a foot deep. They are submerged up to their shoulders, not moving with the current. Just there. One of them stands up, taller than human, limbs too long, skin pale and slick like a frog. No eyes, just holes. Mouth open sideways. Humming stops. Entire forest goes silent. Creature points directly at me. Flashlight dies. No moon. Can't see anything. But I hear the water rushing toward me. No footsteps. Just the sound of the creek moving wrong. Run. Trip twice. Feel something wet brush my ankle. Make it inside and slam the door. House stinks of moss. Floorboards damp. Look out the window. Nothing there. Next morning, creek is dry, like it was never there. Ask the landlord again. He says, there ain't been a creek on that land since the 1940s. Says the last tenant would not stop humming. Disappeared one night. Sometimes I still hear it. Low, broken, just outside the window. There's no water anymore, but it feels like something is still crawling through the dirt to find me. Bullshit. I don't need no goddamn list. I'm just gonna tell you about something that happened to me this winter. Me and 2 bros I used to go to college with. We will call them Z and Brett. Used to go to different towns around Georgia to party and hang out and stuff. Usually, they knew some people, but sometimes we would just find different shit on Twitter or Lamebook or shit. We've had some crazy party stories, like really crazy. But this is by far one of the weirdest, and I was chilling up in Z's dorm room on my Twitter, looking for our normal weekend parties and shit. There was some stuff going on down here and there, but nothing really crazy. Eventually, some girl sent me a message and we started talking for a bit. When I'm talking to girls I like, I kinda like to get inside their head and figure out what type of person they are, so I know what to say to fuck them and stuff. But this girl was really weird. I'm a pretty good judge of character, but this chick was like impossible to read. Not to mention, though I didn't really like to think of it too much at the time, I noticed she had a really weird train of thought. We were talking about our favorite cats and pets and shit, and then out of the blue, she just started getting sexual and flirty and stuff. I don't know, I was just kinda surprised. And when I looked at her profile, it was really simple. Just a picture of her with a few people. Nothing really weird, other than she looked really country and sorta innocent, lol. Nothing really weird, I guess. Just a normal girl's Twitter page. After a while, she told me about this party that was going down, at her friend's farm, and I was all, hell yeah, sounds cool, we will be there. Gave me an address to drive to, and some directions to get the rest of the way. The address was weird though. It was on the outskirts of this weird town I never heard of, called Box Springs or something like that. I don't know. I don't really remember the name properly. I know it definitely started with a B, and it was really small. Of course, the GPS didn't take me to the address, just the town square, and kinda left off. Anyway, I texted Brett, told him about the party that we were going to out in the boonies, and if we were less stupid, we probably would have thought it to be a dumb idea. But we're teenagers. Not to mention, we've been in some real tight situations, so whatever happens, we thought we could deal with it. So we planned this. We decided to leave right after classes on Friday and get on the way there. We got the bong, brought an eighth of some kush, a 30-pack of beer, and got underway. When we got to Tai Tai, we immediately got lost. The directions she gave us were really shitty, and the people who lived there are country-ass morons, and none of them wanted to give us the right directions. Some said left, others said right. All of them lead out of town, which was kinda strange, as it was fucking annoying, so we decided to go looking for some teenagers. If there was a party in their town, they would know where to look. No teenagers. None. Shit just got annoying as hell. The directions told us to go south on some road that we had already driven on a million fucking times, and I was almost out of gas. We had been driving like 5 or 6 hours, and it was already around 11. When we were about to fuck it and go back home, we saw a hay wagon full of like 12 high schoolers. We thought it was their school bus for a second lol, so we followed them. Of course, they were looking back at us really weird. We were bumping Gucci Mane, loud as fuck, around these country-ass people, and it was funny. Sure enough, they led us a long-ass way down this long-ass dirt road in the woods, and then went off the path through some grass and mud and shit. The car almost got stuck like a million times, but sure enough, we started to hear some fucking strange-ass bluegrass-sounding music, played by people who have obviously never heard real music. It was like we jumped into the goddamn 30s. Like I said, there were fucking dudes wearing overalls and no shirts, chugging moonshine out of glass jugs, fucking tractors and pigs and shit. It was fucking weird, but fuck it. We cracked open the beer and started smoking a weed, and we naturally started getting comfy. It didn't feel right, I tell ya. Everyone was really fucking quiet, just sitting there listening to their music, dancing a little but otherwise staying silent, save for a few quiet talkers. A few were staring at us, and it was really uneasy, and immediately, we hit a weird feeling in our gut that just got worse as we started smoking. A girl came around to us, the same girl I was talking to on Twitter. She looked different now, not at all how she did in her pictures. She greeted us, and I introduced my friends. She didn't really seem to care about meeting any of us, and right off the bat, handed us a jug of moonshine. I never had moonshine, so I had no clue what I was in for. Fuck it. It was really boring, so we might as well get on their level anyways. First shot burned worse than all 7 hells combined. Not to mention, it got us tipsy immediately. Things slowly started kicking up. People started getting more talkative, and a few more started dancing. We hit the bong a few more times. It started to feel better. Hell, even the music got better. Shot. More people came to talk to us. It got louder. The girls started dancing a good bit. It felt awesome. The Twitter girl even taught me how to square dance. Oh, one thing I left out is that at this barn, there was a shitload of people. Like 200 people. No one showed up. No one left. It was packed from the time we stepped foot in the barn. You would have thought with this many people, there would be more noise at the beginning, but it was slick silent as graveyard. Of course, until we started getting fucked up. After about an hour, things got trippy. First off, you know how when you get drunk, things get less clear, but also make sense in a weird way. It was the fucking opposite for us. Things got really, really clear, but made absolutely no sense. The closest feeling I ever had was when I used a robo-trip, though that's a stretch. Not to mention, we drank a lot that night. Much more than someone should be able to drink, especially between 3 other people. We killed several jugs of shine, at least I think it was shine. I was just calling it that because that was what came to mind, and it was definitely alcohol of some sort. All I know is, that party got really, really fucking hype in a short amount of time. I remember some dude riding a pig, making out with like 5 different girls at the same time. Everyone was dancing. It turned into one of the best parties of my fucking life, but it was nothing like life too. It felt like I was in a literal dream, or living in the middle of a video game I have never played before. Shit was trippy as all fuck. But then, I saw Twitter Girl again. She came out of nowhere, looking fucking beautiful. Everything seemed to slow down, and she put her arms around my neck and started to dance with me. Somehow, we felt alone all of a sudden. The crowd around us kind of meshed together, like people in a painting. She said some shit to me that all I remember was just a resonance, which is still with me to this day. I took another swig of shine, and she kissed me for what felt like 3 hours. God, I have never been in so much fucking love in my whole goddamn life. When she let go, she started to walk away, keeping her eyes connected with mine. Slowly, the painting around me seeped back into real life. I wanted to follow her, but for some reason, I couldn't. Things began to make more sense. The world seemed to close back into real life. I felt dizzy. I had been drinking for what felt like a whole fucking year. Of course, it would make sense I was about to pass out. Things got darker, my head got lighter, and I felt myself fall back hard into the hard ground. Then, everything was black. We woke up in different parts of the barn, with the worst hangover on the face of the earth. All around us was just a black, empty barn, looking as if no one had been in there for 100-something years. We looked at each other as if what the fuck just happened. We didn't have to say anything. We were all on the same page. We got up and walked back to the car, saying nothing. I started the car and drove off. Looking back in the rearview mirror to see the barn where we lived for the first time in our whole lives, we felt a brotherly bond between the three of us that night, and, to this day, this bond is burned into our memories, even though we have all moved on with life. Nothing is remembered from that night. I never found the Twitter girl's profile. My phone took no picture, nor any numbers, and all we have are the memories in 3 glass jugs that were covered in dust. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you do and you want to hear more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below, as it lets the algorithm know that you like my content and it promotes it to more people. My goal for the channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're closing in fast, so thank you, and back to the stories. Living in the city. Just outside of it actually, in what used to be the warehouse district. Nice townhomes and brand new lofts nestled up against old rundown buildings. I'm renting a unit in one of the townhomes. Pretty cozy, to be honest. Only weird thing is a huge community of hobos that hangs out nearby. They basically live at this now defunct railroad station. This rundown station is uncomfortably close to where they built the new metro line. I sometimes hop the line to a brewery not far from my place. Gets creepy at night because the area is totally silent, except for the sound of these homeless dudes shuffling around and whispering in the dark behind me. Spooky, but it's Texas. Always pack heat, friends. So, anyway, one day, a new guy moves into my place. Never seen him before, never saw a U-Haul at any point. It's like he just waltzed in, with no worldly possessions, just like the shirt on his back. The guy stood out like a sore thumb too. Everyone in my building is white, except for one very young Asian couple. This new dude is black, but his skin looks like a dark blue. I tried to start a convo with him a couple of times. He's polite, but I can tell he does not like me asking about his personal life. I'm a private guy too, so that's okay. I do notice that he's got an accent, but not sure where from. Might have been African or Haitian. I don't know. I'm bad with that shit. I also notice he works nights. Always leave well after dark. Gone all night. Comes back just before daybreak, when I'm getting ready for work. He keeps to himself, so I just forget about him. I get used to hearing my neighbor coming and going. One night, when he leaves, I happen to be looking outside. My unit window faces the metro line. I'm watching the gang of hobos shuffling around in the dark, wondering how the fuck I can get rid of them. Keck. See my neighbor walk out towards the metro station. Stands there for a while. Then somehow, I lose sight of him. Figure he walked to the far end of the station or something. It's much darker over there, and forget all about it. Put on some X-Files, eat some pizza, then call it an early night. Fast forward, I decide to hop the line over to that brewery one night. Make my way to the station. Wait there a bit. Notice I don't hear the homeless dudes. Look back at the old train station. There is nobody there. City must have finally gotten rid of them somehow. Fuck 'em. Hop the line, get off at the brewery, and have a couple of beers. When I'm feeling nice and toasty, I head back to the rail line. At the station, a homeless man approaches me. He asks me for change. Normally I ignore these guys, but he stutters really bad when he talks, and I look at him. His eyes are huge circles. He says, "Please, man, please, anything you can spare," stuttering the whole time like he's freezing his ass off. It's late spring in Texas, not cold at all. Like I said, I ignore these guys, but somehow, I felt really bad for this dude. I did not have anything on me except a crisp $5 that the bartender gave me as change. Fuck it, I give it to the guy. He grabs it and immediately takes off running down the station like he just robbed me, lol. Fucking crackheads. I hop onto the metro and ride it back home. Hop off the metro. Not a soul at the station. No hobos lurking in the shadows. Feeling nice and safe and buzzed, but I begin to notice the sound of someone following me. Glance back. Nobody there. Keep hearing like footsteps at a distance behind me, but every time I look, I don't see a soul. Must be an echo. Or maybe I'm drunk, lol. Either way, I make it back to my place safely. Shower and head to bed. Wake up the next day. I discover my neighbor's unit is now vacant. Again, I never saw him leave. No U-Haul or anything. Just poof, gone. Weird. Maybe he broke his lease. Oh well, not my business. Late that night, decide to hit up that brewery again. I'm heading out when I see some things been slipped under my door. Bend down to pick it up. It's money. A crisp $5. Think back to that hobo. How scared he looked. Think about the missing hobos at the old train station. Think about, nah, that's crazy. Pocket the $5. Make my way down to the metro. Head to the brewery. Grab a couple of beers and tip the bartender the $5. When I'm nice and buzzed, I hop the rail, headed back home. The station is totally empty when I get back. Not a soul in sight, and I'm feeling good and buzzed. The walk back to my place is nice and quiet, and safe. Be me, 16 years old. On my way to high school during a really foggy morning in winter. The path I had to take every day went through a small patch of forest with some really high trees, low grass, and small bushes here and there. While walking through the patch of woods, I literally can't see anything outside of it. The fog sure is thick today. Can't see the houses that were less than a couple of meters away from the entrance to the woods, nor the big department that was supposed to be at the exit. Can't hear anything either. Everything is dead quiet. Keep walking. I realize I should have gotten out of the woods already because of how much I've walked. Keep walking. Now it's even harder to see ahead. Suddenly, someone else comes out of the fog, walking in opposite direction to mine. Tall man. Medium long black wavy hair, wearing all black. We walk past each other. He looks straight ahead all the time. I look over my shoulder to see where he is going. He's nowhere to be found. That freaks me out. I look forward again and realize I'm right at the exit of the small forest. It also started to snow. To this day, I still do not understand what happened. He walked into a pocket dimension. One of the residents was probably pretty confused to see you. Work at cemetery. Good pay, good benefits, and bonuses. Very few people stay, always quit, and claim weird shit. It's down to a skeleton crew. I and 2 others. One day get an order about vandalism. Keep an eye. No one wants it. I'm money hungry and do it. Good bonus of 500 plus and 2 days off due to lack of sleep. Get set up. Camp out by a mausoleum. Catch 2 idiot kids kicking headstones. I'm hidden in the bushes by the mausoleum. Ghillie suit and paintball gun. Supposed to call the cops or get a description at the very least. Snap a description via camera. Open up and deck idiot kids. They freak out and flee. I proceed to go dark, put on NV, and scope the parks. Snap pictures of damage, dig around to ensure no other damage. Turn around, see an older man in a suit. I approach him, ask him to please leave. Tells me, good shot. Fucking shits knocked over my stone. I apologize and say we'll get it all fixed. Tells me about his time in World War II. Tells me to please fix his headstone. Points at the headstone. I look and assure him we will. I turn back. He's gone. What the fuck? Look around. Walk to where he pointed, since it's near a mausoleum. See Suit Bro's face on a porcelain image on a knocked over headstone. Okay bro, I got you. Lift it up, since it's small, and straighten it up. Complete the night. Secure the bonus. Get my days off. Return to work. Boss gives me our orders and hands me an envelope. Handwritten letter. Old yellowed paper. Brittle envelope. 2 words. Thank you. Not creepy, but I helped a ghost, and he said thanks. There is probably nothing more ordinary for Muscovites than the capital's metro. The only thing it never ceases to amaze is the ever-increasing fares and long, sometimes up to half an hour, stops of the train for technical reasons in the tunnel between stations. All this, of course, is irritating, but nothing more. And in vain. It would be worthwhile sometimes to turn your gaze to the mosaic frescoes with leaders in the underground halls and remember the era when the Moscow Metro was created. That era was full of secrets and mysteries, as evidenced by more and more new, sometimes terrible discoveries. This story happened in 1975, but it took almost 20 years for one of its participants to dare to tell it to a journalist. Then, in 1975, they were ordered to forget everything and keep quiet. But Viktor Stepanovich M. could not remain silent and wrote about what had happened to one of the central newspapers. The answer followed a week later. Viktor Stepanovich ended up in the Kashchenko Psychiatric Hospital in Moscow, from where he was released only 6 months later when he officially recognized himself as mentally ill and admitted that everything that had happened was the ravings of a madman. What were the official bodies of that time trying to hide? This is what Viktor Stepanovich told the journalist. When I entered the office of the head of the electric depot, my entire team was already there. In common parlance, we are the night patrolmen of the metro tunnels. Our section was the entire ring, and naturally, I knew it quite well. I knew the dead-end tunnels, the sidings, the civil defense warehouses, and other utility rooms. That's why, when I heard what they were talking about, I did not believe it at first. I decided that it was someone's joke. Only the presence of 2 silent men in civilian clothes in the office made me believe what was happening. It turned out that yesterday, that is, a whole day ago, an entire train with passengers and drivers had disappeared from the ring. Vanished completely, and it was unknown where exactly on the ring it had disappeared. There was only one message about a serious violation of the schedule over the past day. A train from the Belaruskaya station arrived at Krasnopresnenskaya with an interval of 14 minutes. It happened at 9:16 p.m. So, it was only on this stretch that the ill-fated train could have disappeared. Indeed, there was a small dead end there, but even if we take into account that somehow the switch worked and the cars automatically turned there, then in this case, the train could not have disappeared. This dead end is too short. It barely fits 2 repair cars, and how could the rest of the train have remained on the main track? And no matter how ridiculous such an assumption was, our team and 2 of the authorities went there. When we arrived at the site in a repair car, it was about 9 o'clock in the evening. All traffic on the ring was temporarily stopped. We stopped in front of the switch at the turn to the dead end and got out to inspect the tracks. Then we went deeper into the tunnel to the very wall. There was nothing unusual in the stone vaults, and suddenly there was a muffled roar, and we felt a barely perceptible trembling underneath our feet. Before I had time to realize that it was the mechanisms of the tunnelers who had come for the second shift starting to work in the neighboring tunnel, the switch behind us clanged, and immediately the entire wall of the dead end began to creep up. We were so amazed by this eerie sight that we were literally dumbfounded. A few moments passed, and before us opened up a gigantic, illuminated hall, reminiscent of a metro station, but with a single track on which the missing train stood. As if on cue, we jumped up and rushed into the shrinking passage. The wall closed behind us, and the lights in the ominous station went out. In the middle of this ominous darkness, only the train cars were glowing with a dim, duty light. We turned on our flashlights and, whispering, headed toward the train. The first thing we noticed was that the last car was badly dented. Apparently, the wall that was coming down had touched the roof of a car that had not managed to slip under it, and only then did the entire train stop. There were no people in sight. Several times we shouted in the empty, huge hall, hoping that someone would respond, but in vain. The silence that followed our shouts became especially eerie. There was a feeling that everything that was happening was unreal, that time and all of life had stopped here. We walked through all the cars, but found no one, although there were plenty of traces of people's presence. It seemed as if the passengers of the ill-fated train had been here for at least several hours. Empty tins were lying around everywhere. In one of the cars, things were laid out as if someone had slept there. On the platform itself, we found an extinguished fire, made mostly of newspapers and magazines. There was also a baby carriage with a pacifier inside. I must say that we were very excited by what we saw, and I personally got pretty scared and suggested that we get out of there as soon as possible, but there was no tunnel or exit from this hall apparently. We searched every corner, convincing ourselves that there must be an exit, because the people who were on the train somehow left the station. After fruitless searching and trying for an hour to find the mechanism that raised the wall, it suddenly went up on its own, and the driver of the repair train appeared before us. Having noticed us, he shouted for us to leave the dangerous area as quickly as possible, and not in vain. As soon as we approached the repair train, the wall behind us dropped again, blocking the passage to the mysterious station with its stone chest. Already on the way back, the driver told us how he managed to free us from stone captivity. Exploring the walls of the tunnel with a flashlight, he came across an electrical switchboard rusted with time. By pressing all the levers and buttons on it in a row, he managed to make the wall rise again. After the events described, I thought about what I had seen for a long time and came to the following conclusion. Apparently, the tunneling work that had begun in the neighboring tunnel had caused unwanted vibration, as a result of which a contact had been triggered in a forgotten electrical panel, switching the switch from the main track to the reserve track. And then the automatics came into play. Unfortunately, at that very moment, a train with passengers was passing along the ring. Thus, it fell into a trap. Only one thing remained unclear to me. Where did the people from the lost train disappear to? When I was released from Kashchenka, I naturally visited that tunnel again. However, I did not find any dead ends or rising walls there. Everything was carefully walled up and hidden by the laid cable. So, this secret remains shrouded in darkness to this day. The eyewitness account was recorded by Sergei Sheglov.